I think a big problem in this world is police brutality.
Do I think police brutality is an issue in our society? Of course.
Every single year in the United States, many people die because of police brutality.
Seem to be trying to disrupt anything. They are chanting no justice, no peace as they walk. But I should emphasize once again, an entirely peaceful protest from everything we've seen so far tonight.
Family members of Eric Garner and Michael Brown taking part in the march in Washington. Some 25,000 peaceful protesters joining them, taking to the streets and calling for change.
These protesters have not been violent in any way. It has been an entirely peaceful protest among this group at least.
And back here in New York, Eric Garner's family reacting to the outpouring of support today. His mother and widow say they are overjoyed to see thousands of people demonstrating peacefully on behalf of the late husband and father.
Hard to interpret it as anything other than a peaceful protest right now. And as I say that, there's a few more of the protesters coming up 6th Avenue here with us now. But as you can see, they are simply walking. They are chanting no justice, no peace, and they are just moving as the police have asked them to do, to keep moving.
And the Millions March here in New York City, just one of many peaceful demonstrations across.
Here I came to record my friend Xander to see what his standpoint on police brutality is. I think a big problem in this world is police brutality. I've witnessed it several times. Once was a summer in Chile where I literally saw people being nightsticked, beaten to death, shot to death, and tear gassed all in the same night. And it was incredibly traumatic, and I think it's a big problem.
So how much of the problem with policing in this country comes back to the issue of community policing? I spoke earlier with Michael Barber. He's with Cop Watch New York City. He has some incredible video that he shared with us, but I began by asking him about whether or not community policing efforts should be increased.
I believe community policing is very important because we have a lot of these officers who's not from the community that they're policing, and they don't really know who's who and who's what, so they automatically assume that everyone's a criminal, and they treat people like they're criminals by the way they're stopping them, frisking them, holding them against cars before they're just by being questioned, and they're not really being detained yet, and they're still being treated like criminals. So that's why I believe it's important for police to actually know the people that's in the communities, police that's from these communities, and
Well, and obviously that's a major problem across the country, is that you do have police officers who are not living in the communities that they are policing, and so it becomes a job for them where they're there part of the day and then they go home someplace else. I want to talk to you, though, about this video you recorded. It's of a 14-year-old girl who appears to be questioned and then even threatened with arrest because apparently a child who was with her, who witnesses say appeared to be around 7 years old, pushed the button on a police call box. And then here's what happened next. Let's watch.
I didn't do nothing. I said it from the beginning. I did not do nothing. You came and touched me. You was not putting handcuffs on me, and I told you how old am I? Put handcuffs on me. Wait a minute. You're not putting handcuffs on me. You're not putting handcuffs on me. You can't. Oh,
she's expressing her First Amendment. It's her First Amendment right to speak.
I got this. Cause you know you doing wrong. Sir, I got this. Go on. Female cop.
Michael, that is a really stunning video. Now, just so viewers understand, we actually had to edit out the center part of that just for time constraints, because from the time that that girl was actually grabbed by the arm by the officer who was going to take her into custody, it looked like, to the time that they actually left was about 2.5 to 3 minutes long, and we had to remove some of that center section. But I want you to describe for folks what you saw when you were there and how surprised you were by the outcome of that.
well, usually I film any type of police activity. As I'm out doing Cop Watch, I'm part of the organization Cop Watch Patrol Unit, and we document any type of police interactions with the community. And as soon as he jumped out, I felt like it was something that needs to be recorded. And usually we record all the way into the very end because just like a situation like this, you just never know what might happen.
It looked like that girl was going to get taken into custody. The officer looked like he was going to arrest her. And then literally there were people and several women who got between the officer and that girl, and they were pulling her away and basically saying she's committed no crime. You were saying, I think it was you anyways, it sounded like your voice behind the camera saying she's just exercising her First Amendment right. She has a right to talk to you. And then the officers just left. They got in their vehicle and they drove away. What was your thought as they left without anyone being charged?
Yeah, because it looked like they was gonna let her go. They was writing something. He was writing something in his car, but then she was telling him, "Oh, I told you how old I was. I told you I was 14. You still grabbed me. I told you I didn't do it, and you still grabbed me." And it got the officer mad. So that's what caused him to jump out the car and try to arrest her again. But there was no officers, uniformed officers called to the scene. I stopped the sergeant around the corner, and he actually had no idea of what was even going on.
So at this point, have you even been able to verify that those were, in fact, police officers?
Well, they did have a gun and handcuffs on the side of their hip, and they had bright green wristbands around their arms. Usually a lot of undercovers, they have green wristbands or orange wristbands.
And that's a telltale sign. But you did ask for, and I heard you and I heard several other people asking for names and badge numbers, and nobody was given anything. Is that correct? They wouldn't give up those badge numbers?
That is correct. So I had to ask him, at least tell me what precinct are you from, and it sounded like he didn't want to give me that information until I kept being persistent, and he had to tell me.
Well, I will let our viewers know as well that we did contact the New York Police Department today, asking them to comment on that video and what happened there. They were unable to even basically say that it was their video and it was their officers and that they knew what was going on. They said they'll get back to us, maybe. So we'll have to wait and see if that happens. But in the meantime, we do appreciate your work videotaping and documenting all of this. Michael Barber of Cop Watch, thanks so much.